Well, hey there, y'all. Just a quick reminder, this podcast's for fun and information only. It ain't medical advice, and the views are ours, not our employers.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's great to be with Nessa again. Just remind everyone I'm Nicholas, and with me is my partner in crime, my co-host, my friend, my colleague, the other half of this dynamic duo, Dr. Nessa Meshkady. Welcome.
Hey everyone.
It's been, I want to say it's felt some like 2 weeks or 2 months, but it's just been crazy. Why have we not connected the last couple of weeks? What's been going on with life?
Well, fall is my favorite season, or one of my favorites. Spring is the other one. So it's been busy for me. I've been outside a lot, and that's very important for me during this time.
Love it, love it. Yeah, and I was on service. I think we overlapped briefly for a couple of days. And then, yeah, we total opposite circles, and Thanksgiving happened. So excited to have a chance to connect. We're going back to our health and fun format. We'll just start off with a what the health, HEALTH. So this is something that hit my Apple News feed, no brand endorsement. And I thought it was really poignant. It's this article about this guy who takes a 3-day retreat that he started in COVID. And I will just give a little bit of the overview because I know that Nessa, you've enjoyed the retreat space, but I thought it was very pertinent that started during COVID as the CEO of a company and really had this opportunity where he left behind his computer, turned off his phone. He just brought a journal, got disconnected from electronics, and use it as kind of an opportunity to level set his goals and expectations as an annual check-in. And I reminded me of you had a week-long silent retreat, right? And do retreats regularly?
2 years ago, I spent 10 days in silence, and I've been learning ever since about the benefits.
What does somebody need to know before they try a silent retreat, which is definitely different than this guy talks about, like, he goes on a hike, he's obviously alone, but maybe he meets people on the trail. But what was the impetus for the silent retreat, and what emotion did you not experience?
I think that I wasn't expecting how silence, when practiced so much, it was 10 hours a day for 10 days, will actually change the brain wiring real time. And that was really shocking for me. And I think I spent a lot of time after that trying to understand the risks and benefits of the whole experience. And basically, from my experience of it, silence gives my brain permission to stop narrating and interpreting and judging, and more just allows for observation, which, I mean, as scientists, that's how we roll.
Right. And I think, that's part of the interesting thing is the article talks about how in subsequent retreats, sometimes there's an expectation of what's going to come out of it or the expectation going in, but ultimately that expectation is not something that can be controlled. And has that kind of been your experience on retreats?
Well, I think I have an interesting relationship with the word retreat and just the idea of going elsewhere for retreat for 3 days or 10 days or whatever, because what I have learned since that experience 2 years ago is to bring those practices into my daily living and to integrate them, which is why I really like this article, because even though this person goes away for 3 days and learns some things and sets goals and, restores and decreases stimuli and alters the nervous system, those effects are long lasting. So when you walk away from the said retreat 3 days or 10 days, you're not walking away from everything. And I think that's important to remind people that want to have more time to go to said retreat, to be able to know that we can actually practice it in daily activities of daily living and bring it in. And that's why I like this article, because I think what ends up happening is you drop the seeds when you commit to 3 days in Northern California or longer, but then what will you bring in and practice, and how can it change you kind of on a daily basis? And that's what I'm interested in. And I guess we should clarify what we mean by silence too, because it's not necessarily sitting rigidly on a cushion and not listening to any sounds at all. I think for me, a large part of it was bioacoustics or just natural sounds. So when I mean silence, for me, it's silence from just digital stimuli.
Right.
But natural sounds or specific music that is calming can be introduced in this whole process. It doesn't necessarily need to be like black and white.
I think one of the really crucial things was, the 24 hours off, the weekend off, the golden weekend. Your body never truly, gets back to its baseline state. We actually have a friend from residency who did a whole kind of dissertation on the phantom pager vibration. And for those of you who are of a generation not of Nessa and I, it used to be that we carried pagers. Sometimes you'd have one, sometimes you'd have three. It's kind of your living reality, and that's how everyone got in touch with you. Now, obviously, phones do the same, so it's that kind of constant reperception. But the phantom vibration sense was, we all had it. Like, we knew we didn't have a pager on us. We'd be out socially, and didn't have our pagers, but still, you see somebody check down to their hip and be like, oh wait, I feel like I swear my pager just went off, but I'm not wearing it. And I think one of the things a lot of people don't understand in their daily lives, like, how does somebody do a 3-day retreat or a 10-day? But really, you can break those into tiers, right? So we talk about, you can have the day retreat with an unstructured, no goals, no agenda, let your mind be free, or it can be, a device free 6-hour period. We'll put up on the website some of the studies that say, even if it's a day without your cell phone, there's profound impact of that. Or do you make that a priority in, different parts of your day, like no cell phone until 2 hours after you're awake? And these all have profound. And I think it really comes back to, how do we create those spaces that are not just constantly, giving our brain signals of things we need to process.
Yes, exactly. I think that is a very important point that he even referred to when he would go on walks. If he was at home, it would be with headphones, but then when he's in this retreat space, he wouldn't take any devices, and it was a completely different experience. And I think that is really key. When I go on my neighborhood walks, I split it up. So sometimes I might feel like I want to listen to a song. Sometimes I want to listen to the actual surroundings. So I'm not rigid about it anymore, but I think I just listen to whatever feels right for me. And so in the video, if anyone's watching on video, I'm wearing this pin. It's my social battery. But what I want to say is it's my stimuli battery, which to me is actually the same thing as social battery. Because whatever's going in, whether it's words from a screen or from a person or any event that you're at, is the same. They still require some processing time. And so this battery is just my reminder. It's just my reminder of how much sleep I got for the night, and therefore how much I'm willing to, or how do I have to adjust my day according to what I could take in. And it's my dream that everyone kind of has that tinkering ability. And it's also just known that if you have that metacognitive awareness of your body-mind connection, then you make better and healthier choices throughout the day that are more intentional. And so I really want to inspire people to do that. You don't have to wear it like I am. I'm a nerd. Even if you have something, an indicator at your bedside that's like, I slept well.
Right.
I have this much energy today.
All right. No, for sure. It makes me think also of the meme, and maybe we'll find a link to it, where people are walking their dog, but instead of saying like, my dog's not friendly, don't touch, they have it says, don't, not friendly, don't touch, So yeah, so we'll post some. I think the studies are fascinating. We'll post a couple of those for even, a short break, an unintentional day. So that is our health. We, I think, would be remiss, and again, our goal is not to compete with some of the phenomenal physician social media advocates who are in this space, but I think we would be remiss as somebody who takes care of hospitalized, newborns and as an infectious disease, if we did not bring out one, the HELLTH, and talk about hepatitis B and the recent policy reversal of decades of work in progress, and the removal of hepatitis B recommendation by ACIP for newborns.
I'm almost like speechless on this topic, which is rare for me, just because we have age-old experiential bench research, all kinds of validated information on the value of the hepatitis B vaccine since it started in the 90s, and it's worldwide. So it's not, just regional. So yeah, I think I know it's all in the media and I don't know what it looks like, but what it reminded me of, remember when we were in training and we had a lot of hepatitis C end stage liver cirrhosis patients from hepatitis C? Well, now we're curing hep C, and then we're removing a very important prevention step for hep B. And so I'm just wondering what that's going to look like, since hepatitis B, chronic hepatitis B, can lead to liver cirrhosis, liver failure, and cancer, liver cancer. Then will people that are in training like many years from now be seeing that now? And unfortunately, at this current time, there's no cure for hepatitis B. If you get it vertically or horizontally, you can clear it in the beginning. If you do end, but if you do end up with chronic hepatitis B, then you may not have any symptoms, so you may not know. So that's also a little bit of note,
Right.
when you think of the risks and benefits of these interventions.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to see that in the future, if we're going to see hepatitis B liver cirrhosis.
Yeah. I mean, the data supports it, right? So I get asked a lot, what are my thoughts on vaccines? Is there an element of pharmaceutical benefit over epidemiological benefit? These are the things to think, right? And for me, the litmus test is always, what does the rest of the world do? And what does WHO do? You and I have both been in countries where we've seen the hepatitis B supply, in remote clinics or hospitals, and hold our breath and, know that we're seeing lives being put at risk. So when you kind of see that 110 countries currently, it's part of their national immunization protocol for newborns, and that we're the first country to largely remove it. I mean, yeah, it's okay to be the outlier and ahead of the pack sometimes, but boy, everything kind of tells you in your gut feeling that this is not, the right time. And it's not just a misinformation. I think when people try to draw parallels of infection, if you don't have all the data, such as, boy, hepatitis B can be acquired postnatally in the daycare or the creche. But as you talked about, we talk about the terms horizontal transmission. So that's coming from, your play groups in the play pen who are all slobbering over each other. As opposed to the vertical. And yeah, many people can transmit it vertically. We're heading into this time period where I worry about the access to healthcare with Medicaid changes and dropped prenatal visits. And it's not a perfect system. It's really, heartbreaking. And we'll put up on the screen some of the data. And for me, if the data was marginal about the efficacy, great, let's have an honest discussion. But one of the statistics I saw was something of 18,000 known perinatal risks for transmission. By using hepatitis B, it was down in the single and double digits. I mean, what intervention in medicine boosts that success? But if you went to go get a bypass surgery and the cardiothoracic surgeon said, hey, listen, your chance of any bad outcome is less than 1%, you'd be like, hallelujah, and that's what we see with this intervention. So it's very disappointing.
Yes, I think, it's a very safe and highly effective vaccine. And I think it's important to just review how it spreads, though, how hepatitis B spreads, just to clarify. Contact with infected blood or bodily fluids, sexual contact, sharing needles or syringes from mother to baby at birth, which is vertical transmission. It's not spread by casual contact or hugging, or sharing utensils or anything like that. But as we were referring to earlier, most adults will clear it in their lifetime, but kids who may get exposed would have a higher chance of experiencing chronic hep B illness.
Yeah. So lots of social media influencers out there. I will repost a link to some great social media influencers who are in the healthcare space, recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. And please follow them because, again, we want to discuss issues, but recognize that there are some fantastic influencers doing this work. All right, so this is like the confessional, and this will be our little wellness segment. I don't know how. I love norovirus. It's like one of my favorite viruses to like diagnose if personally have it. For everyone who doesn't know, this is the cruise ship. I like to describe it as you are sitting on the toilet with a bucket and you're not sure which end. How did I not know that hand sanitizer, the alcohol-based ones, didn't work for that? I feel like that hit my like I don't know where I read it the other day. I was like, what?
I'm not sure. I know oftentimes in the hospital we know that C. diff or Clostridium difficile is the one that we have to use soap and water for, and that the other viral illnesses could be killed with the hand sanitizer. But I don't know. I feel like with the GI illnesses, I like to use soap and water no matter what.
So norovirus is we're definitely seeing it here in Colorado. I think it's kind of making its way across. You know, it's variable. It feels like it comes through every couple of years. I've been seeing it recently, and so there are things about norovirus. Well, let's talk GI illnesses in basic, right? So different forms. Salad bar, you get something toxin mediated. Before the sun comes up, your body is removing it from one or both ends. And then the viral one, so norovirus, you can tell me all the others in a second. A little bit longer of an incubation period. And for me, and I remember this because when it was going through a hospital that I worked in, it can last for days on the surface. And so a lot of my education for families has been, hey, you know what? Ideally, if your house has the capacity, one person gets their own bathroom until they're done and know that norovirus can stay on a counter for 48 hours and then bleach the heck out of everything. So tell me your norovirus experience.
I have deep respect for norovirus, and I bow down to it. And I also think that we don't give it as much credit for how much havoc it wreaks. It's a horrible feeling to experience viral gastroenteritis and vomiting and diarrhea at the same time. It weakens your entire body and like puts you out a good amount and takes a while for restoration of your gut health. And remember, your gut and brain are connected. So it's a cognitive blow, a physiological blow of all sorts. And so I always kind of have deep sympathy for parents of young children where everyone in the household's wiped out. It'll take a while to recover. Give yourself the time and, not to bounce back. And just because you're not experiencing symptoms doesn't mean you're all ready to go. Like there's a delay with that. But yeah, I think, again, talking about how the virus is spread, the norovirus is very stable in the environment. It survives freezing and heat. And so it's something that, like you mentioned, is in the cruise ships. But how it usually spreads is person to person contact, contaminated food or water, touching contaminated surfaces, like you said, and then touching the mouth. So that's usually what happens with kids and adults if you're traveling. And then and the part that people forget is if your child is vomiting, it becomes aerosol risk to the moms and dads and the other siblings. So I think that is interesting too. But we know it's norovirus usually because there's sudden onset of vomiting and diarrhea and stomach cramps and it goes as fast as it comes. So thank goodness, but I would say, usually at that point, then your gut microbiome is inflamed. And I know we always talk about the gut. So it's important to restore that.
Yeah, I think as we talk about this, we both kind of smirk and laugh. And I think it's just because we've seen so many cases. I've had it. It's, for me, the gratification is, yes, it goes away quick. So if you're getting admitted to my service, usually by the time I'm seeing you, you're not spending more time in the bathroom than you are in the bed. And I think one of the things that you really kind of talked about is, you finally stop losing it out of both ends, but to replenish your hydration status, your electrolytes, your body takes another, at least usually it seems like 48 hours before somebody feels even remotely human again. And I love the fact that you brought up, because I'd forgotten that it aerosolizes. the nasty thing about norovirus is that you just need a small dose, a small, what we call it, an effective dose. I'm forgetting that.
10 to 100, 10 to 100 virons, I think is all you need.
Like tiny, right? Like it's probably just floating around or something. So yeah, so we'll obviously we don't do health advice, but if you're ever symptoms, know when to stop toughing it out at home, seek a medical practitioner, and we never really recommend giving anything to kids to stop diarrhea without consultation with a provider. But I think the biggest take home, just to know that if somebody has had it in the house, expect it to be everywhere, and not getting it is like winning the lotto. So. Well, let's wrap up. Tell me a little bit. What do you got coming up in the next? What's the next couple of what the rest of the year look like? What are you up to for fun these days?
Well, I live close to the Channel Islands, and so I went there last time I talked to you. Between last time I talked to you and now, saw a couple of orcas in the sanctuary, and which is not a common sighting here, but I did nerd out to learn that orcas go through menopause and they're matriarchal, and that there are pods that have grandmothers that pass wisdom of how to hunt, how to be socially, and the lay of the land. And in pods that have grandmothers, they live longer, not surprisingly.
Not surprisingly.
So I know there's all this rage about menopause, and of course I bring it up mainly because I'm in perimenopause, so it's an experience I'm going through as well. But also I wanted to know the evolutionary adaptation and the reason why orcas and a couple other, like the pilot whale and the narwhal, also go into menopause. And part of that is because we live longer than we used to die in our 40s, so we didn't evolve to needing it. But yeah, I think there's one theory that's called the grandmother theory, and I really like that one because I've also been very interested in resuscitating elder stories and learning from those that have experienced before us. And so it was cool. But all that to say, I'm going back to the islands, and I hope to see more orcas.
I love it. And it's really interesting to see, and again, some of our primary care providers. I feel like the menopause space, which has not gotten attention for so long, it's interesting to me too. Also, the certification for the treatment and the care models that are emerging. And when I say interesting, what I mean is I think they're so delayed, and they're coming to a societal appreciation and understanding that we're just like, gosh, a lot of OBs now are running, perimenopausal practices, and why is it, that this is the point where we have finally brought validity to the challenge of, changes that occur with that, not just, on a kind of psychosocial, but also even on a medical anatomical basis.
Yeah, and I think it's great that more people are talking about it. And of course, what comes with that always, which is a little what the Hellth double LE, is so many people try and market off of this experience and the fact that this topic has not been focused on for the last, who knows, centuries. Absolutely. So now we're talking about it more, and then again it goes back to, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and who do I trust, and how do I navigate this? And I would start, like, for me, I would say just start with getting to know your own body and cycles, and taking notes. Like, why are we suffering with so many changes, like from a mental standpoint, hormonal standpoint, physiological standpoint? There must be a reason. Right. What was the reason in nature? Why did the orcas go through it? I truly believe the wisdom is, or the reason is wisdom. And like something that happens when you're at midlife, experiencing all these changes, recalibrations, kind of like reassessment of what you've been through, what you've learned, how you're changing, how you're growing, that is kind of a metaphor with what's going on in the world, like the tempo of change, and right. Just open to things that are changing right before your eyes with your own body and your own microclimate, and on a bigger scale, and just be like, how do we navigate this riptide, or these waves that are just, how do we ride these waves?
For sure, riding waves. So, well, great to catch up. I don't think you and I will probably connect over the new year. I head into a long rounding stretch. People ask, why do I like Christmas in the hospital? And I love being in the hospital. It's a meaningful time. When I've been in the pediatric hospital, it's a blast. Lots of decorations and gifts, even in adult hospitals or community hospitals. It's a time of year where it just feels like we bring forth our best faces, our kindness, and it's a great time in healthcare. So I believe this will kind of wrap up kind of 2025's episodes, and you and I will probably connect in the new year when hopefully there's some snow.
Yeah, and just a final reminder that public health consequences of weakened public health are becoming visible. And we are learning how to navigate those new waters that will see higher costs, more illness, and avoidable loss of life as a result of these changes. But I also think that this is a transition point, and that hopefully we'll get to a point where new things will emerge to help guide public health infrastructure in the future. Because for me, it was because of all the behind the scenes efforts. So now it's more on the scenes.
Yeah.
And
we'll jump off in January with some of the emerging systems, though, that are also being built up. So, all right, my friend. Well, it's been great. I'm glad we finally connected. Yeah.
Happy solstice.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy the orcas, and I'm sure we'll overlap and touch base clinically here at some point in the next couple of days, guaranteed. So, all right. From What the Health, thanks for joining us. Send us feedback. Let us know what your topics are of interest to you. Our guests keep pushing back, but we're threatening them with more blackmail, and we'll get them here soon in 2026 as well. All right. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, now, that's a wrap for today's show. You can find us at www.whatthehellth.org or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and like and subscribe to our show. Remember, this podcast's for information and entertainment only, not medical advice. The views you heard are ours alone, not our employers. Y'all take care now and stay healthy out there.